and small Japanese units sprinkled around the island. They would hide in the forests and sabotage U.S. operations whenever an opportunity presented itself. Patrols often found themselves being ambushed out of nowhere as they let their guard down thinking the enemy threat had been dealt with. In fact, some Japanese soldiers never received word that the war had ended and continued fighting for many years after Japan surrendered and World War II was officially over. The loss of life and military assets during the Battle of Okinawa gave U.S. intelligence pause. If the Japanese were able to inflict such damage on a small piece of land hundreds of miles away from them, it would cost Allied forces if they were to invade Japan itself. The loss of life would be unimaginable, and it was hypothesized that it would take years to finally subdue Japanese forces. If there was another way to force Japan into surrendering, the U.S. needed to find it quickly. As the Battle of Okinawa raged on in the Pacific, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt died of an intracerebral hemorrhage in the brain on April 12, 1945. Harry Truman was sworn into office as the next President of the United States and immediately started making difficult decisions about the war in the Pacific. After word reached Truman that Okinawa had been secured at great cost, he tasked his advisors with finding a way to force Japan to surrender, and he wanted it done with minimal U.S. casualties. Unfortunately, at the time, there was no good option. It had become clear Emperor Hirohito would not submit willingly. In fact, everyone in Japan believed that they would win the war and were willing to lay down their lives to make sure it happened. Men, women, and children, military, civilian, elderly, all Japanese citizens would rather have died than surrender their country to a foreign power. This meant that regardless of what Truman decided to do, lives would be lost. The question was just how many people needed to die in order for World War II to come to a close. Soon after the transition of power from Roosevelt to Truman, the new president was made aware of a top-secret weapon that was being developed by scientists in Los Alamos, New Mexico. It was known as the Manhattan Project, named after the location of the team's first office in New York City, and would result in the world's first atomic bomb. After the successful test of the first nuclear bomb ever created on July 16, 1945, at Alamogordo bombing range, Truman believed that the atomic bomb could be his only way to force Japan into surrendering. Truman asked a committee of advisors led by the Secretary of War Henry Stimson to determine if using the atomic bomb on Japan was the best course of action to end the bloody war. After seeing the devastating effects of the nuclear explosion, the committee did not take this task lightly. They knew that if the U.S. detonated an atomic bomb on Japanese soil, the civilian casualties would be immense, but it was determined that an invasion of Japan would be even more costly for both sides. Most of the committee concluded that the bomb should be used. Stimson was a huge fan. This was the right decision.